We got Talking 25. And guess what? As I said in the intro, this is the first official college football committee. Is that what they're called? The college football
playoff rankings.
The college football playoff committee ranking deal. Extravaganza is a great word for it. Take a look, ladies and gentlemen. These are the current top 25 teams per the selection committee. Interesting. We've got Oregon at 1, Ohio State at 2, Georgia 3, Miami 4, Texas 5, Penn State 6, Tennessee rounding out number 7 there, Alabama, Iowa State sneaks in at 17. Yeah, that's about it. So honestly, what do you guys make of this? Because I mean, everyone knows these are not like the end, right? Who really cares what these rankings are? In the end, this could be, the top 8 teams could all drop 2 games in a row and everything looks completely different 3 weeks from now. But I will say this is an indication of where the committee is at currently. Red, you're a little bit more of a college football connoisseur than myself. What'd you make of the rankings that the committee officially decided on?
Yeah, I think that there's really nothing here that should shock people. I think Indiana they're a little mad being behind teams like Penn State, Texas, and Tennessee right now. They come in at number 8 with Texas, Penn State, and Tennessee being ahead of them in order, 5, 6, 7. So Indiana, I understand why they have a gripe there because they're like, oh, we're undefeated. BYU has a similar gripe. But what both these teams do not have is a good win on their schedule. I think Indiana's most impressive win, it honestly might be Nebraska, and Nebraska probably isn't going to make a bowl game. So they really don't have anything to hang their hat on. So Indiana, I think, is in more trouble than people want to admit. But I don't know. We'll have to see how it shakes out. It is just the first rankings.
Indiana currently, this is the fact of the matter. This will not change. Their strength of schedule is 103rd. And all the other teams were like 75th or better. There's only like 1 or 2 that snuck in to those 70s. So obviously strength of schedule playing into Indiana's ranking there. But I don't think it matters. Who cares if you're 5 or 12?
Correct.
Like, I don't know what you were saying there, Hunter. I'll cut to you in a second here, but I just think that as an Indiana Hoosier, do you really care if you're 5 or 12? Oh, realistically,
they 100% care, but
does it
it doesn't really have a long-term effect?
You got to be
there's so many games this week and next week, and even for the rest of the season, there's a ton of games that are going to have to be played, and a lot of those teams, your Tennessees, Texas, Georgias, Ohio States, Miami's, Penn States, Ole Miss is in there, Alabama. They all still have to play very, very tough games. They still have a lot of those games left. Indiana doesn't. So my guess is that what the College Football Playoff Committee they were kind of trying to hedge their bets there by saying, okay, we think Texas, Penn State, or Tennessee will probably lose. We don't want to come in with Indiana at like 6. And then we get into a weird spot where, okay, at the end of the year, they're undefeated. They just lost the Big Ten championship game. They were ranked 4th before that because they were undefeated. But in reality, in terms of like how good they are power ranking wise, they're probably should be like the 10 seed or something like that. So my guess is that the College Football Playoff Committee is just trying to hedge their bets and not get too ahead of themselves with Indiana. And they want to see where some of those like blue bloods who everyone expects to be here, they want to see how those guys fall exactly, my guess.
What do you think of Indiana minus 14 against Michigan this weekend?
Love it.
Really?
Michigan's bad. They have absolutely no offense whatsoever. Kirk Cignetti is a psychopath who cares about beating everybody by 80, and he's 100% every single team meeting for Indiana right now. He's just banging the drum of they're underranking us, they're underestimating us. So I expect them to come out and try to probably triple up Michigan.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised either. I just think it's interesting that, they haven't won by less than 14, and that's exactly what the line is at. The books are starting to catch on a little bit to Indiana's antics. Hunter, I'll ask you, what were you saying in there? I didn't mean to cut you off.
I don't remember what I was saying. I just think my only gripe with the top 25 is Alabama. I think Alabama should be ranked lower than 11, and if I had to put a team in there to switch them out with Alabama, it's Texas A&M. Alabama lost to Texas, right? To Texas. So that's a good loss. You can take that and still be ranked high, but an unranked Vandy just doesn't compare to Texas A&M, who lost to number 10 Notre Dame now, and also an unranked SEC South Carolina. So they both have I guess it's like comparable, but still I think A&M would have a better run at the college football playoff than Alabama would.
Yeah, I think the reasoning behind that, Hunter, and I agree with you that like right now it looks weird. It's like, why is Alabama this high? But it's similar, I think, to the Indiana thing. I think the College Football Playoff Committee is saying, okay, we think that Alabama is going to finish this season at 10-2, and a pretty solid 10-2. So I think that they're worried that if they had them at like 14-15, when teams
it's gonna be hard to jump them at the end.
Yeah, they're trying to position teams a little bit ahead of time here, is my guess, and that's I kind of think what we're seeing with Indiana being a little bit lower and Bama being a little bit higher than what people would think.
Interesting.
But what if the Aggies win out and they beat Texas at the end of the year?
Then I think they would be in over Bama if Bama wins out. What's Bama's schedule look like?
I don't know what Bama's schedule look like. Obviously, Red, you're looking that up right now. I think TAMU is. I think they're I think they should be in. Period. I think they're a very good team.
I mean, they only have Texas left. They have New Mexico State, and that's there's nothing there.
Yeah, agreed.
Bama has LSU, so if they beat LSU at night this week in Death Valley, to me that's a reasonable win.
That's a pretty big game.
That's a win and get in. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, that's fair. That's
a big game. All right, Chase, I got a question for you because my biggest gripe is Notre Dame. I'll go into that in a second here. What do you make of these? Obviously, Iowa not cracking the top 25, no surprise there. Do you have a second team, kind of like how you take the Commanders when the Saints suck? What's your thoughts on these top 25?
I bet he's the biggest Alabama fan now.
No, I like SMU a lot, actually.
He's on Oregon.
Yeah.
Sure.
All right. Okay, so SMU at 13 then. What do you think of them just barely getting eked out? Because ACC kind of looks like it's theirs for the taking right now, other than obviously Miami.
I mean, what they did to Pitt, and their only loss to BYU, which is a good team, undefeated, obviously. I'd like to see them win out and sneak into this. Boise's there, but I don't think they're necessarily the same team, like as good as SMU. I don't know who Boise plays the rest of the season. They probably won't be tested. Their schedule is probably fairly easy, but SMU's offense is pretty electric. They piss-pounded Pitt, who was undefeated at the time. I just feel like that wasn't talked about enough.
So what you're missing with Boise State, though, is that there is going to be a Group 5 team, and they are just currently the projected Group 5 team.
Yeah. I think they're miles better than any of the other teams currently.
Correct. The other two in contention are Tulane and Army. Army would be cool. I think everyone roots for Army because it's Army.
Yeah,
Tulane would obviously be whatever, the Green
nation.
Wave, cool mascot, but right now it's Boise State.
Yeah, Hunter?
Yeah, my friend's sister goes to Tulane, and she sent me a video from one of their aftermaths from a party, and it was just full of CO2 canisters. I don't know what this has to do with football, but I'm just saying that I think they're a little too fucked up with the Whippets over there in New Orleans. And I think Army might lose to one of their next teams, but yeah, I like Boise State a lot.
Army does have Notre Dame, I believe.
Well, so that's where my gripe is. Obviously, you look at these. Okay, so let's say you take this at face value, and you're like, okay, so you got two Big Ten teams at 1 and 2. Then you got an SEC and an ACC to round out the top 4 there. SEC at 5. You're looking at these conference-wise, right? And you're like, well, this is just a lot of teams. But realistically, 1 through 4, I mean, this is not the official. You can't have 1 and 2 be the same conference when the actual 12 team comes around because one of them has conference winner of the Big Ten. Well, for the top 4 conference
wild
winners.
Card, yeah.
Right, essentially. So this will change up and just literally from just how the bracket works, and we'll kind of touch on that in a second. I kind of want to see, like, do you think Colorado could get in, all these sorts of things. But Notre Dame being at number 10 is just irritating to me. Because they play nobody and they lost to Northern Illinois and, they're a different team now, I hate that. I absolutely hate that.
Yeah, but they also beat Texas A&M, and I guess, it's the first game, so it's Texas A&M is still a little shaky, but
put them at 14 then.
That's I guess so. Maybe like 13 or something.
I just think 10 is too high. That's just me.
That's fair. Top 10 is kind of wild for someone who lost to, I didn't even know Northern Illinois existed. So
yeah,
the important thing to realize about Notre Dame here is they're probably only going to have one loss, and they're going to finish the season beating more than likely Florida State, who turns out to be terrible,
literally the worst team in the nation.
Virginia, Army, who's currently ranked 18, and then they finish at USC. So they actually finish with 4 decent games to end it here. They just always play that weird schedule because they are Notre Dame. But they did beat also a pretty decent Louisville team who just handed it to Clemson this week. Yeah. That was shocking to me. I thought Clemson was probably going to be a little bit better than that. They weren't. So the Louisville win looks a little bit better. and it's Notre Dame. So the legacy media is they're gonna prop up Notre Dame. It's just what's gonna happen.
It's inevitable. And speaking of media in general, I think it's a great time to touch on Colorado, currently ranking number 20 there. But when you look at the Big 12 as a whole, realistically, pretty wide open. BYU currently undefeated, then Iowa State at number 2, and I think Colorado is tied at number 2 as well, if I'm not mistaken. I'll look that up in just a second here. But they could easily, I mean, it would not surprise me if they sneak in, especially if the committee is looking at a 3 SEC team situation, 3 Big Ten teams maybe, or whatever the case might be, and they're like, oh, do we add an extra SEC or Colorado? I would not be surprised if they pick a media favorite in Colorado. What do you think here, Chase?
Yeah, I think they have a path, even if they have to make the Big 12 championship, but even if they lose it, they're looking at, I don't even know what their record is.
2 loss right now.
6-2.
2. So if they win out, I mean, their losses to Nebraska, which looks bad now,
but
Kansas State, who was not a bad team at the time. Other than that, their schedule is fairly weak, but they're going to be a 2-loss team. And we look at the SEC where a lot of teams could beat up on each other. Let's just say somehow Georgia loses to Ole Miss. Does Ole Miss sneak in there? I mean, it could be a crazy end of the season.
A lot of football left. Do you have something?
There's absolutely a situation where
Belt.
I think Ole Miss and Georgia get in. I think what people like outside of Big Ten and SEC are starting to maybe kind of realize is like, okay, the conference we're in, whether that's the ACC or the Big 12, probably going to be a 1-bid conference.
Most likely, yes.
I think one of them could be a 2-bid conference, but there's between the ACC and the Big 12, there will not be 4 teams in. There could be 3 if we see something where like SMU beats Miami in the ACC championship game, and then SMU gets in and Miami's in as probably like a 7 seed or something like that, 8 seed, get a first-round playoff game at home. And same thing with the Big 12. I could see it where if Iowa State or Colorado, they have to win the Big 12.
Absolutely.
There's no other way around it. And so that's their only path in. Both teams do control their destiny because both teams can win out and make it to the playoff or Big 12 championship game. Mm-hmm. But say Colorado or Iowa State wins the Big 12, then I could see a world potentially where BYU sneaks in as like a 10 or 11 seed. But other than that, we're looking at Notre Dame, the Group 5, that's 2 schools.
Yep.
The 4 automatic bids from each one. And then I think we're going to see probably minimum of 3 from both the Big Ten and the SEC. So that brings you up to about 11 teams. And then it's like, okay, do we take an extra SEC, Big Ten, Big 12, or ACC team? This is what it comes down to. So it's going to be who has a better strength of schedule, better resume, an Iowa State, Colorado, SMU, or a 2-loss Ole Miss, a 2-loss Tennessee, a 2-loss Alabama. Who are they going to take? It's going to be one of those SEC teams.
Mm-hmm. Really?
Or even a 2-loss Penn State maybe could get in.
Interesting. I think they might
I have
side
a
with...
question for you guys.
Yeah,
Chase, go ahead.
So let's say Colorado and Iowa State win out. Both of them have 2 losses, or I guess Iowa State would only have 1 then. Dumb question. Never mind. Forget about it.
I was going to say BYU is not losing, so I think BYU is pretty much guaranteed to go to the Big 12 championship right now. I think it's just a matter of if Iowa State will lose again. And like we all know in the Big 12, all roads lead through Lubbock. Okay, sorry. I thought Redbone was going to be on that one. Maybe not. I think Dion's hyping up this game, so then he's trying to hype up the committee, like in the media. I like that you talked about media, Marv. I think he's hyping up this game to be like, oh, yeah, this is a huge game. Bro, it's Texas Tech. Like, come on. Obviously, they played spoiler against Iowa State. They pretty much eliminated TCU from being bowl eligible. Like, we are on thin ice right now. And I think he's trying to hype up this game to where if they win it, then he'll be the second one in, even if he loses in the Big 12 championship.
Yeah, I could see that, and I would pump the brakes on BYU just because Utah this weekend, it being a rivalry game. You never know what happens, right? Rivalry games obviously kind of open.
I know what happens
door.
in Utah, and Utah's ass because TCU beat them.
Well,
and if TCU's beating the team this year, that they stink. So, and that's just how
bad.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
They
I mean,
are
Iowa
bad.
State's been a bad team and beat Iowa before when they were good, just because the playing field is leveled when things get dicey. I mean, that's how rivalry games work, and that's what makes college football so great. And I'd like to just take a second to appreciate this. Let's just take a second and realize everyone was wrong that said this is going to ruin college football. The 12-team playoff is going to just tear apart everything that we love, that is American sport, college football. No. We're sitting here talking about who's going to be the 10 seed, who's going to be the 11 seed, who's going to be the 12 seed. We're having the same conversations. It's just that they're more in depth now, and I couldn't be more excited to see where, obviously, with 3-4 weeks left, 4 weeks I think it is exactly before conference championships. This is the best time of the year. It really is. Every game matters. Even teams with a loss or 2 losses are going to be like, hey, if we make a championship game, things could change. Things could get different really quickly. Obviously, a team like Louisville is going to have a harder time than maybe a team like Iowa State, but this is pretty wide open. I will say the biggest gripe I think I have with this is that Vanderbilt didn't make top 25. That is unfortunate. Missouri, really? What are we doing?
Missouri's so bad. I don't know how they're still being talked about. They're so bad.
I don't know about all that. All right, Chase, do you have any closing thoughts on the top 25 before we turn it away for our zero to hero?
I do. I would like to rephrase my question.
Okay, go ahead, Chase.
So,
the floor is yours.
Let's say Iowa State takes 1 loss, Colorado wins out. Who gets in between them and the Big 12 championship?
Only the Big 12 championship gets it. Big 12 champion.
No, he's saying
into
who
the
plays
Big
in the
12
Big 12
championship.
God, that's hard because they both played Kansas State.
Well,
right?
if Colorado
Like,
lost
what's the
to Kansas
tiebreaker
State,
between Colorado and Iowa State is what you're asking?
I guess Iowa State would have
get in.
2. No, because Iowa State would have 2 Big 12 losses, and
It's a conference
Colorado
loss.
only have 1.
Oh, you're saying 1 more loss. Okay, got it.
Yeah, if they both had 2 losses. So I guess it'd be
That
probably
loss would come
Colorado
to
in that
Kansas
case.
State.
Yeah, Iowa State probably has to win out, basically, to avoid that situation. Right now, it's BYU, Iowa State, Colorado, Kansas State, and then Texas Tech somehow snuck their way up there, which is really fucking annoying.
If
But
Texas Tech wins out, we might be looking at some fucking kids with STDs in AT&T Stadium, which would piss me off.
I just don't
I
know if
hate the
Texas Tech
Raiders.
has a path, to be honest. But, I mean,
I don't.
that's a long ways down the road. That is 100%
If they
a
can
long
win
way down
out,
the road.
I mean, they could do it. You beat Boulder
Everyone in the Big 12 just needs to start realizing that their only path in is winning the Big 12 championship game. So they need to start focusing on that. Unless you're BYU, you have an outside chance. But everyone else, stop worrying about everyone else. Win the Big 12 championship game, and then you don't have to worry about it because you're not getting in if you don't.
Okay, so because you're so
the Big
passionate.
12, well, sorry. I was just going to say that the Big 12 just pisses me off because we always beat each other up. We can never be like a good team, It's just like you put a bunch of like arsons in a dark room with a bunch of guns. Yeah, they're going to shoot each other. That's just how it works.
Yeah.
And then hopefully one person doesn't get shot and you send them out and you're like, yeah, this is our undefeated person for the season. And then boom, then they have to face like Shaq with a bazooka, like from the SEC in the next room. And that's just how it goes. And then boom, they get blown up.
The Big 12 does beat each other up. Red, I have a question for you. I'm just kind of curious, and this will round out our top 25. Let's just say, hypothetically, this is a purely hypothetical. I don't want to hear, oh, well, that would never happen. I just want to know what you think.
So this is 100% never happening.
Iowa State,
Yes,
Iowa
not
State
going.
wins the next 4 games by 100 points each. They win them all 114
Then they
to
would be
14. But they lose the Big 12 championship
Then they
game.
would be in.
You think?
Like,
What if they lose the Big 12
If
championship
your
game by 100
point
points?
differential over your last 5 games of the season is in the ballpark of 350 positive, you will be in the college football playoff.
No,
Okay.
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. That would not be it. No, they would not be in.
Last crazier hypothetical. Iowa State
Crazier hypothetical.
Iowa State wins the next 4 by 100 each. Their point differential over the last 4 is plus 400.
Okay.
Then they go to the Big 12 championship game and they lose by 500.
They're out. Can confirm. Breaking news here on Marv on Air.
Damn it.
Iowa State, if they lose by 500 in the Big 12 championship game, will not make the college football playoff. Breaking news here.
It's a fair assessment, as much as I really do hate that.